Doug had lots of passions, and one of them is people and history and livestock, and in particular Aberdeen Angus cattle. He was born into a multi-generational Angus farm that came to North America from Roxborough, Scotland in 1873.
Doug Henderson was a perfect example of, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Doug loved to visit with people and promote Angus cattle. And as a sales manager in the Angus breed, he got to do both for a living.
I think first of all, my memories of Doug are that he was just a people person. I think from around the world, whenever we traveled, he was known. Everybody wanted to know how Doug and Linda were doing. If he was there, he was the center of attention. Everybody knew him. If he wasn't, everybody wanted to know how he was doing and wanted to hear about him. I think Doug really enjoyed people. He enjoyed entertaining people and hearing their stories, telling them some jokes, and just being part of their lives.
He started out with a small herd of Angus cows that actually had been at Doug's mom and dad's out at Tees. And then when we moved out here and built our facilities, we brought them home, and we would get up to about 100 cows. And that was about as high as we ever, sometimes it went over, but we would have liked 25 cows, but that didn't happen very often.
They've had Angus cattle in Alberta, the Henderson family, for over 100 years, pioneer breeders, and the legacy left by the Henderson family has been great for many years on the Angus breed in Canada.
The sales management career started with Lloyd Pickard and Associates, and later became Douglas DJH and Associates, which is when I was lucky enough to work with Doug on many Angus sales.
That was his love and his passion. But when he started traveling and being able to meet people, and he knew he liked getting people together, and he liked promoting their cattle as well as his own cattle, which was really important to have someone to help market the cattle.
You know, everybody knows about the management company and the sales they managed over the years, but they also had a very important role in the improvement of the breed throughout Canada with the semen that they imported and the semen company they had. Maybe for younger breeders, they don't remember that or didn't know about that, but a lot of the influential bulls that came up from the States and in Canada were imported and marketed by DJH.
Doug was a firm believer in helping out the smaller breeders with consignment sales and first-time production sales, even though probably a lot of them were not profitable. Doug used to say that he only did consignment sales in hopes of getting a dispersal when these herds were finally ready to be done with the Angus breeding.
It really goes back to being as truthful and as accurate as you can at not only describing the animals, but being able to give them a fair evaluation that you almost have to tell people what they might want to or what they could spend to get that animal.
I was able to learn his values of honesty and representing the cattle with no flash or falsehoods. I really believed in making the cattle as true and honest in description as possible, so that people could use them in their own programs and not be disappointed.
One of my favorite ones was when Doug told me one time, he said, "A rising tide floats all boats, but when the tide goes out, you really get to see who's been swimming naked." And at the time I just kind of laughed, but then you get driving home from wherever you saw Doug at and thinking about it. And I think he was talking about, you know, in a good cattle market, anybody can sell a bull. But when the market starts to soften a little, you can see who's been doing it right and who has a lasting breeding program. So I think that was kind of cool. And he always had all kinds of sayings like that many people would talk about.
Over the years, even though there were different private treaties and different commission sales and different partners, so Mom and Dad worked with different
Mhm.
auctioneers or other sales managers, and they'd come together on the same sale. Really, I think you and Dad looked at everybody as associates because you worked for the customers, helping them
Mhm.
find the cattle, and you worked
sell.
for the sellers, helping them sell the cattle.
Mhm.
One such dispersal, I recall a lot of sales managers wouldn't have taken on. The cattle all arrived out of BC with no tattoos, no tags, and just numerous calf books. It was a very large sale, and we had to pair up all the cows and calves, lot tag them, and tattoo them. A lot of sales managers would not have been interested in participating in such a sale, but Doug would go that extra mile to make these events successful for all people in the Angus breed.
His love of history would have thought of the association as the hub on a wagon wheel. And then all the producers and the events and the marketing, those would have been all the spokes. And then when you think about the wheel rim, that would have been, like, if you looked behind the wagon, that would have been the history of the association. And if you looked at that bumpy old wagon trail ahead, that would have been, you know, what the association had to navigate and get through going forward. So
I would say Doug's legacy to the Angus breed was one of being one of the best promoters of the breed in a very fair and honest way, and the Angus breed has definitely benefited from Doug's influence.
He stood for integrity, but he also stood in representing both the people and the cattle.
I think Doug would have been a success in whatever endeavor he wanted to be in. He was that kind of a guy, extremely intelligent, extremely personable. And I think we were just lucky as Angus breeders that he chose to stay in the Angus breed and make the Angus breed his life's work. So thanks to Doug, and definitely he was a true legend and one of the good ones.